Hello, my name is Mike Ward and I'm the Global Director of Content at Informa Pharma Insights, the publications Scrip and The Pink Sheet. We're here at BioEurope Spring, which is currently being run in Barcelona, and this is a meeting where biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies, investors all get to meet to discuss potential transactions, financings, etc. It's a great way for companies to showcase their wares. I'm joined today by Staffan Strömberg, who's the CEO of a new company, a Swedish company called Bacterial Therapeutics, sort of focused on the microbiome. The company was formed in 2016. So, in one sentence, what is it that you guys are doing?
Yeah, well, actually, we were formed in 2012, but we listed ourselves on Nasdaq in Stockholm 2016. Okay. So, public 16, but it's correct. Now, what we do is that we work with the microbiome, but we work with products. So there are a lot of people there talking about the possible impacts and how it functions, and a lot of questions, and we are saying we're not so much for questions, we're more for products and treatments and medicine, and that's what we do. So we have found one unique program or project that we work on, and we are in phase 2, finishing phase 2 in America now, and pressing on for phase 3 next year.
So could you give details of what that program is?
It's a microbiome, it's a bug, it's a single strain bug that we provide to preterm babies, very, very small babies. Right. And these babies, they come out of their mother, and of course they're sterile inside the mother's body, and then they're born into a very hostile environment, the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, or they end up in the neonatal intensive care unit. And there they need to establish their microbiome. And they're completely naive since they're sterile, and everything around them will find a way into their gut. And of course, these are not the bacteria you want to have in your gut. You want to have the ones that have co-evolved with humans or us as people for the last 50 million years or so. So what we're doing is we're taking a lactating mother's bacteria, put it into a factory, a lot of work, and then give it to these very vulnerable and very small babies in the first days of life. And by that, we protect them from getting a terrible disease called necrotizing enterocolitis. That is the most disease that kills the most premature babies in the world.
Right. So, and where did the idea sort of originate?
It came from a company, another Swedish company, that worked with this Lactobacillus reuteri, this technology platform, for many years. And independent research worked on these bacterium. And in 2007, 2008, a lot of preclinical and kind of the questions that other people ask themselves now is how does it work, what does it do, and all these things came out as publications. And the effect that this bug displays actually coincide with the medical need and the underlying causes why you get this terrible disease called necrotizing enterocolitis. So there were independent researchers in America and in Europe that said, hey, we have something here that could be the solution to our huge problem with neck. And they started to do clinical research completely independent of us. And this clinical research was then published in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. And when that was published, we said, this is fantastic. Here we see an effect, and we have a huge medical need. Let's put it together, and that's what we did.
So so when let's put it together, because you said it was being created, or this was actually being developed in another company. Could you just explain what that process was around 2012? What happened?
What happened? I sat down with the head of the research at this.
And what were you doing at that time?
I was head of development for that company. Okay. I came in. I worked for half a year with this company, and I saw this data. And I was sitting reading it, and I talked to the head of research guy, and I said, Eamon, what is this? And he says, I don't know much about neck. No, me neither, but let's find out, because we see an effect. And then when we realized that this was a terrible disease with a huge medical need, we said we have to do something about it. So we went to the BioGaia board and said, we want to do this. And they said yes. But since BioGaia, the mother company, was a food supplement company, we said we're going to go pharma. We need to spin this out. And that is the IVT that I currently try to manage.
Right. Okay. And so BioGaia, do they own a stake in your business?
No. So BioGaia, all the shares, we spun out in 2016, we left the mother company BioGaia. So we were given out as dividend to all the, at that time, the current shareholders of BioGaia. They got us for free.
Right.
And then we listed ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we did that, we also needed a license to the patented technology that we use.
Yeah.
So we have a non-revocable, royalty-free, worldwide license, so we can use the technology for what we need.
Right. And did you raise any money either from other sources or during the listing?
We got about $8 million, $9 million from BioGaia as a little backpack to go to school.
Yeah.
And then we raised another 100 million Swedish, about 11 million euros last year.
Right.
And that money will take us through phase 2, where we currently are. And then next year it's time for phase 3, so we need more money. And that's why we attend this conference for the first time.
Okay. So the money that you've raised so far, that was to do what with the asset?
To do phase 2.
Right. So
and to do a lot of CMC work.
Right. Okay. So what is the status now of the program?
Program is that we have recruited all the patients, the 120 patients in our phase 2, and we're now preparing ourselves for phase 3 and of course waiting to get the results. There's a follow-up there, so they are recruited, they have been dosed, final dosing has happened, and now we're just waiting for the results, preparing ourselves for phase 3, talking to partners, talking to people that are willing to invest for the future, and also preparing CMC and everything else that you need for a large phase 3 program that you're going to.
So, and has the company got one asset? I mean, are you a single asset entity, or are you looking to expand beyond that?
We have this license to this technology. We're focusing on this right now, but we see a lot of other possibilities in the field of preterm babies. You know, these babies didn't exist 30 years ago. Or 95% of the babies died 30 years ago. But with technology, medical devices and other things, we've learned, or the doctors have learned how to take care of the babies. So today, about 95% of the babies survive. And this means that there's a new population here that is new, not only small, new and extremely vulnerable. And today they prescribe about 90 drugs to them. And they are made for you and me. And we're very different beasts from these guys. Our livers can do things that their liver cannot, and so forth.
So, the microbiome, I mean, there's quite a lot talked about it. So, when you were raising money and when you were spinning out, were you describing yourselves as, you know, we are a microbiome company, or did you describe yourself as a company that's focusing on this neck asset?
No, well, I think we are doing three things at the same time. We are a microbiome company. We're focusing on neck, but we're also working. We have a second program called gastroschisis now, which also uses the Lactobacillus reuteri technology. So we have more than one asset, if you want, but we use one technology platform. But when we raise the money, we need to be very careful, because there are a lot of people talking about the microbiome, and there are a lot of questions around the microbiome. What is it? What are we going to do? What about the regulators? It's unclear. We don't ask any of those questions. We just go to the regulators and say, this is what we propose as a development program, and they will provide feedback. And then it's like any drug development. If you come from the food side or you come from a university, you're not a pharma industrial development person, you're going to be puzzled, it's going to be tricky, and you want guidelines on how do we do that. We all want that, but we're not going to get it. It's case by case, and I really appreciate EMA and FDA, and also the Swedish MPA, in the way they have talked to us and said, this is what we want, this is what we don't need, and back and forth. Because these bugs, these live bacteria therapies, are new. So there is no precedence. I can't call someone, what do we do now? You did this in 1978, you know?
Sure. So what you're saying is that, you know, although you have described yourself as a microbiome company, you're envisaging the microbiome as an enabling technology rather than actually what really defines you as a business. So you say you're prepping for phase 3 now. So when do you know, what's your plan? What's the anticipation of the timeline for the development where we might actually sort of see you go for registration for this product?
So, in order to start phase 3, we need money from somewhere. Let's pretend that we have that money.
Yeah.
Then we're going to start phase 3 in the beginning of 2018.
Right.
And this is going to be the largest trial ever conducted in premature babies.
And it's going to be how big? I mean, because you said it was 120 in the phase 2.
Exactly. It's going to be 2,000 or something around that. All right. We're going to do it in America, Europe, and possibly South America and other territories. Not decided yet. And this study, we know now from our experiences from phase 2, where we recruited 120 patients at 15 sites in the US, we know what to do and not to do. And we know that we can recruit these babies at a given speed. So we are going to, if we just do what we did, the good stuff we did from phase 2, we know that we can manage and do phase 3. And that phase 3 is going to take us 2 years to complete, and then it's time for registration. And of course the medical need is very, very high, so the authorities will not sit on the approval, given that we have good results.
So you mentioned about partners, and clearly that might be just, I mean, to run a 2,000 person trial is no mean feat. Can you explain, these preterm babies, when it's recognised that there's an issue, do they end up in special facilities, or is this all hospitals?
No, okay. It depends a little bit, but in America, there is 1,019, I might be wrong, but that's the number I have, 1,019 NICUs. And these are neonatal intensive care units. So when a mother gives birth too early to a baby that is premature, these babies end up in these NICUs. And depending on how small they are, from a pound, to speak English, from half a kilo to maybe 2-3 kilos, not 2 kilos maybe, they need different kind of treatments and different type of care around them. So there are different levels, and there are different, the big university hospitals are very good, and maybe in a smaller city they don't have all this stuff. And for example, in Sweden we have places where they can do surgery on the babies, and other hospitals that are good, but they can't operate on the small babies. So you have to ship them to Karolinska or somewhere where they can open the baby.
Okay, great. Well, Stefan, thanks very much for stopping by and explaining what the company is.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.